by the Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Eritrea, Ms. Sheila Kitteruth. Ms. Kitteruth, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I address you as the Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Eritrea. I'm honored to do this briefing for you for the 6th time, and it's my final briefing, in fact, in this capacity. The Human Rights Council extended the mandate for another year in Resolution 3815, adopted without a vote on the 6th of July 2018. I reached the end of my term of service on the 31st of October in just a few days. My successor has already been nominated and will start on the 1st of November. I wish her well in her upcoming role. First, allow me to congratulate the leaders of Eritrea and Ethiopia for signing a joint declaration of peace and friendship on the 9th of July 2018. The declaration has been reaffirmed on several occasions since then. Such an accomplishment raises expectations that the end of the no war, no peace stalemate will also impact positively on Eritrea's internal human rights situation. Secondly, Eritrea successfully campaigned to be elected as a member of the Human Rights Council for 2019 to 2021. It thus recognizes this institution's importance as the premier human rights body on the world stage. Such an achievement comes with weighty responsibilities. I would like to start with an update on the human rights violations I have documented since I addressed this committee in October 2017. However, the overall legal and institutional context remains unchanged. As a reminder, Eritrea still has no constitution, no independent judiciary or independent bar, no legislative assembly where laws are discussed, enacted, and questions of national importance debated, no institutionalized checks and balances protecting citizens from excessive exercise of state power, no free press, no space for people to express their views, no avenue for Eritrean citizens to voice their opinions on matters of grave importance. In short, the environment remains compounded by non-respect for rule of law and continuity in the existence of weak institutions with no signs that these are being addressed. Patterns of human rights violations amply documented in my reports and those of the Commission of Inquiry on Human Rights in Eritrea persist. These are incommunicado and arbitrary detentions, death in custody, enforced disappearances, breaches of the rights to freedom of expression and religion, among others. According to reliable sources, on 17th of September 2018, Eritrea's former Minister of Finance was picked up forcefully on the streets of Asmara. Since then, no news has transpired regarding his whereabouts or his worrying state of health. His wife was arrested in January 2018, also without an arrest warrant or being charged with a recognizable offense. Her state of health also raises concern. In August 2018, over 300 water tanker owners, drivers, and other workers operating in the field of water distribution in the capital city of Asmara were arrested over a dispute about water prices. Reportedly, they were called for a meeting and ended up being arrested and detained. A few were released after paying hefty fines without appearing before a judicial or administrative tribunal. The majority, as we speak, remain in custody as they were unable to raise the fine money. Furthermore, Haji Musa Muhammad Noor, the late director of the Aldia school in Akria neighborhood of Asmara, was arbitrarily arrested and detained at the end of October 2017. He died in custody on the 3rd of March 2018. Several of those believed to have participated in peaceful demonstrations on 31st of October 2017 against the arrest and detention of late Haji Musa and other committee members were also arrested. Many of those were Aldia school students, their parents, including older people, women, and children. Reportedly, security forces effected mass arrest of over 800 after the burial ceremony of Haji Musa Muhammad Noor on 3rd of March 2018. The Aldia school committee members, as well as many of the people who were arrested during the 2017 or October 2017 protest after Haji Musa's funeral, are still in jail. While some children have been released, others were moved to several times until they reached a prison called Allah. Until now, parents have not been informed why their children were arrested. There are unconfirmed reports that some of the people arrested have been transferred to military training camps. The pattern of arrest detention remains the same. Mass arrests are carried out to instill fear. Prisoners are not allowed to exercise their fundamental rights to due process, to challenge the legality of their detention. Detained persons, including children, are kept incommunicado, and family members are not formally notified of the arrest and detention. I'm particularly concerned about children in Eritrean prisons. I would like to know from the authorities why those kids are still being arbitrarily held. When will they be released? And which measures are in place to protect them from abuse during arbitrary detention? During last year, people have contacted me about additional cases of enforced disappearances of their relatives since the early 1990s. They're still waiting to hear what happened to their loved ones, like this mother from Karen, who prays for the day she will be able to see her sons arrested in or about late 1999 and 2000. Her sons were in their early 20s when they were arrested and disappeared, not to be seen up to today. And forced disappearance is a crime, and perpetrators should be held accountable. With the border between Eritrea and Ethiopia reopening in September 2018, hundreds of Eritrean refugees have made their way towards reception centers along the border with Ethiopia. According to latest UNHCR figures, during the period 12 September to 12 October 2018, a total of 9,905 refugees were registered at the Endabaguna Reception Center, while 2,838 were awaiting registration. Amid earlier fears expressed by refugee population, Ethiopian authorities have indicated that they would respect their international obligation of non-refoulement. Eritreans are still expecting news about policy changes following the signature of the peace agreement. For example, Eritreans and the world are waiting to hear how the declaration of peace will affect the indefinite national military service. National military service is still in place, and conscripts have not yet been informed about any demobilization plans. Open borders have allowed the start of trade between the two countries. However, there are policies that are in place limiting the amount of money that Eritreans, including traders, can withdraw from their bank accounts. That is not 5,000 per month. This policy has a negative impact on small traders, including shop owners, making it difficult for them to compete with incoming traders. Despite the open borders, Eritreans still require an exit visa to travel abroad, effectively restricting freedom of movement. For example, Eritrean bishops were unable to attend a meeting in Addis Ababa held in July this year. Their exit visas were not approved. I take note of Eritrea's membership to the Human Rights Council for the period 2019 to 2021, and Eritrean's government's voluntary pledge to that effect. Consequently, to actualize the key responsibilities which come with such a membership, Eritrea should cooperate with all human rights mechanisms, including by replying timeously to communications from special procedures mandate holders, as well as the country-specific one. Currently, Eritrea's record is far from exemplary. Extending a standing invitation to special procedures mandate holders to visit Eritrea and respond positively to pending visit requests by all special procedures mandate holders, some of which date to 2003. As you know, I did not get access to the territory. The third one is to protect from intimidation and reprisal those survivors of human rights violations, witnesses, civil society representatives, cooperating with the human rights organs, human rights defenders, both at the UN and regional level. Putting it succinctly, Eritrea has an obligation to protect those cooperating with human rights entities, including the Human Rights Council, and not to be the source of intimidation. The achievement of peace between Eritrea and Ethiopia must be duly celebrated. While it is yet to be translated into actual improvements of Eritrea's human rights situation, peace should be viewed as having the potential of ushering in a new beginning for the enjoyment of all human rights by all Eritreans. Put briefly, bring human rights at the very heart of peace, because progress in external relations must be reflected internally by bringing human rights home. As a second step, the Eritrean authorities would need to take stock and account for what has happened to whom, where, and when. Families of the victims of enforced disappearance should be informed about the fate of their loved ones. People languishing in Eritrean prisons, some for excessively long periods, including the G15 and journalists, and others arrested more recently, should be brought before the courts as a matter of urgency or released unconditionally without delay. These would be impressive peace dividends. Justice and accountability are twin pillars, reinforcing each other, on which peace can be built, strengthened, and security achieved. The impunity enjoyed by perpetrators of crimes against humanity and human rights violations remained an unrelenting challenge to be addressed through effective measures, the more so at this particular moment in time for lasting and sustainable peace. I would like to stop here, Mr. Chair, and I'm very happy to respond to any questions or bring in any clarification. Thank you.
I thank the Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Eritrea for her statement, and I now open the floor for any comments and questions to her. I first give the floor to Germany.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Special Rapporteur. Germany aligns itself with a statement to be delivered on behalf of the European Union. We would like to thank the Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Eritrea for engaging with the Third Committee and want to reiterate our appreciation for your work and the work of the Commission of Inquiry. Allow us to underline that your mandate continues to enjoy our full support. Germany takes due note of the developments in Eritrea and in the region and welcomes recent steps in the peace process between Ethiopia and Eritrea. However, Germany remains concerned by the dire human rights situation in Eritrea. We encourage the government of Eritrea to demonstrate the necessary political will to improve the situation by taking serious, concrete and visible steps to implement legal and institutional reforms, and by ending the unlimited and voluntary conscription into its national service. We urge the government of Eritrea to free all political prisoners and to stop the continuing practice of arbitrary arrests and detentions. We are also very concerned by the fact that detainees are often subject to maltreatment, such as torture or inhumane detention conditions. We agree with the Special Rapporteur's recommendation to apply the United Nations standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners, the Nelson Mandela rules, with immediate effect. We strongly recommend the government of Eritrea to actively contribute to in-depth reporting by cooperating with the incoming mandate holder, starting by allowing the Special Rapporteur access to all parts of the country. Thank you.
I thank Germany. I now close the list and give the floor to Eritrea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the outset, I would like to commend the manner in which you are steering the work of the committee. Last week, under the agenda item, the promotion and protection of human rights, the third committee discussed the progress and gaps in the promotion of and protection of human rights worldwide. The takeaway from the discussion is that the promotion of human rights for all remains a challenging task for every nation, and that international partnership in addressing the issue of human rights is best served by constructive dialogue and not through politicization, double standards, and stigmatization. In these discussions, Eritrea shared its view on the broader issues of promotion and protection of human rights. Today, without engaging in acronyms, I would like to highlight the following. Mr. Chair, peace and security, development, and human rights are recognized as the three critical pillars of the work of the United Nations, each having an impact on the other. The respect for the rights of the human person sitting at the center of these intersections is enhanced or hampered by how much progress is made in each pillar. In this connection, with the new dawn of peace in the Horn of Africa, Eritreans are joyous and filled with strong sense of optimism, deservedly so, after enduring and overcoming decades of adversity through resilience. The mindset and the resources that were devoted and diverted justifiably to maintain peace and security for several decades will now be redirected to other vital sectors to accelerate socio-economic progress, consolidate rule of law, and strengthen national institutions. We are determined to accelerate our efforts to create a country where peace, justice, and democracy prevail, a modern and dynamic nation anchored on equitable development, social justice, and harmony. Mr. Chair, the leaders of the region are joining hands in redoubling their efforts to develop a shared vision and strategy to make up for the lost opportunities. This is a remarkable watershed in the region. The international community has welcomed the new developments as significant and historic. What is needed from the wider international community is encouragement and solidarity for the region to sustain peace and meet the aspirations of its people. The negative impacts of the sanctions on the full enjoyment of human rights of all Eritreans cannot be understated. If continued, it will moreover harm meaningful regional cooperation and economic integration. Consequently, countries in the region, members of the Council, as well as the Secretary General of the United Nations, are adding their voices to the calls for the lifting of the sanctions on Eritrea. The region views it as a hurdle that ought to be removed immediately to promote peace, stability, and prosperity. In this regard, my delegation wishes to take this opportunity to once again call on the international community and the Security Council to bring an end to unjustified sanctions, demonstrating to the people of the Horn that it is ready to accompany them on their road to progress. Mr. Chair, the UPR is the best tool to address human rights in all countries in a constructive manner. In full consideration to the UPR mechanism, Eritrea has submitted its third periodic report to the Human Rights Council, detailing achievements, challenges, and hard work to attain the higher standards in the respect of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Out of the 92 recommendations that Eritrea accepted during its second cycle, 8 recommendations, constituting 85.87%, are fully implemented, and 12 recommendations, constituting 14.13%, are partially implemented. Additionally, Eritrea is presenting its voluntary national report on the high-level political forum in 2009 to share the policies in place and the commitment that's needed in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, including Goal 16, which covers the promotion of peace, access to justice, and the development of effective and accountable institutions. Mr. Chair, before I conclude my brief remarks, let me extend my delegation's profound appreciation to all the countries that place trust and confidence on Eritrea to serve in the Human Rights Council for the 3 years, beginning January 2019. Eritrea is committed to fulfill its responsibility to the fullest during its mandate. It will endeavor to strengthen dialogue and consultation, to establish a balanced and inclusive approach to all issues and situations to advance the human rights agenda of the Human Rights Council. I thank you, Mr. Chair.